main sort of framework is the SHIP method. So let me explain what that is. The SHIP method stands for stewardship, ownership, and entrepreneurship. I got that out of the Bible. I got that from King Solomon. So he talked about stewardship. Stewardship is really the successful handling of your finances. So, and then ownership, I talk to people about what we're talking about right now, the assets that they need to create. And so, and then entrepreneurship talks about, you starting your own enterprise where you are leveraging, because that's what you want to do. Who wants to own a business, but are not able to have other people working with you and for you so you can have leverage. And so,
Welcome to the Share the Wealth Show, where minority professionals can learn to escape the racial wealth gap and catapult themselves into abundance. Your host, Nicole Pendergrass, grew her net worth from being negative to multiple six figures. Join her on her investigative mission to expose secret strategies of the wealthy so we can all have the tools needed to build the life and legacy we were created to possess. Now it's time for the show.
Hey guys, so we're back again. This is the second part of the episode with today's guest. I need you, if you have not heard part one, go back to the previous episode and listen to that first, and then come back and join us here today. But you're not going to want to miss what they already said, because then you'll be lost with what they're about to say. But in any case, you don't want to miss you need to hear the whole conversation. This is why we split into two parts. There's so many nuggets. It's so juicy. Go back and listen to the first part.
Let's talk about your real estate company, Dominion Real Estate Holdings.
right.
What does that company do?
Well, we buy, sell, and develop real estate. Mostly single family, multifamily home, like 2 or 3 units. And so we do a little bit of wholesaling. And so really looking to build our own portfolio. We just started consulting with people, so people have seen me posting and doing different things. They said, can you help us out? Can I pick your brain? And so I was doing that for a while, but then I'm like, okay, you pulling on my time. So we start to do some consulting on just on a very basic level, going and walking properties with people and beginning to show them what how to monetize their investments and things of that nature. And so that's what we do there.
Oh, you actually walk properties with people.
Yeah,
that's more than consulting. That's like you got out your house.
Yeah. No, because I like looking at properties, and so I'll actually we're consulting on. Currently, I'm project managing one and consulting on 2 more right now. And one of them was a couple I married, and so check this out, Nicole. His family left him a 6-unit property in Boston, close to downtown. Now, I don't know where you are, but it was dilapidated and so on and so forth. But his grandmother bought it for $30,000. Now, even in its dilapidated state, he was offered $3 million for it. So I've known.
So it was worth like 5.
Oh yeah, fixed up. So now we're in the process. So we'll be done with that project around May, and so that project will be worth 5 to 6 when we're done with it. Actually, it's a 7-unit property. And so in Boston, he'll get about $4,000 a month in rent.
That's financial freedom for a lot of people.
That's financial for what? But my point being is, and I was talking to him the other day, I said, Victor, your life is about to change. See, you and I know that's life-changing wealth. That's yes. That's a golden goose for him and his family. Yeah. Because you can live off the cash flow, pull money out to buy other property and do whatever, and just work that one sucker right there and you're off to the races. And so, I like to walk the properties with them and, look at the contractors working all that, because I'm like you, I like to learn too. So selfishly I'm learning, but I'm also showing them how to do it so that they can, on the next project, next 1 or 2, that they can go do it on their own.
So question. So yes, we know the power of pulling equity out of properties and using that to acquire more properties and building your portfolio that way. So you don't have to necessarily come up with more money. It's just that initial equity that you're able to come up with and grow through your properties. That's basically how almost my whole portfolio actually, My portfolio is all from the same initial equity that like I just keep refinancing, right? But when he inherited this 6 or 7 unit from his grandmother and it needed so much, if it was dilapidated and needed a lot of rehab, where did he get the capital to do that?
Well, the capital came because when we went to the hard money lender, I told him, I said, listen, this is the equity in it. Allow me not to have payments for 8 or 9 months. So they fronted him the money up front based off the equity that they knew he had. And well, you know this, they recognize if he defaults, we get the property.
Yeah.
So in other words, they weren't stressed either way. Now, obviously, they want their capital back. Hopefully, he's going to finish it because I'm pushing him. But they were like, listen, if you don't finish this, because we ended up borrowing $1.5 million for the rehab.
Okay.
It was worth $3 million in its current state. So they were like, listen, if you don't finish the project and default on this, we'll take the property. So, we were able to negotiate that where, he was able to have no payments for 9 months and so on and so forth. And so, that's why I'm pushing them now. Like, we got to finish this thing, man.
Yeah, so that you can refinance and get that.
Refinance and take some money out for he and his wife and do some other things. And he has 4 or 5 kids. So we're talking about, okay, because this, after you finish it, the management piece of it is important too. So we're talking to them about, okay, this is what you need to do, property manager. Are you going to self-man property manager? I would suggest you property manager because who the heck wants to be dealing with 7 people all the time? But, these are conversation things that we have with our students, so to speak.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I just wanted people to hear that it's possible to get things like this done. Even if you don't have capital, there are sources that you can reach out and do. And if it makes sense for the deal, then you can find the money for it. Like there's lenders out there for that kind of thing.
Yeah, big time.
So, okay. I guess where I want to go now is, I guess we've been touching on the SHIP method throughout our conversation. But within that, and like, I see you were skilled in retirement planning. You did a lot of like term life insurance, IRAs, that kind of stuff on the paper side of wealth building. So if you're looking at someone's coming to you and they're asking your advice or doing a consultation on kind of developing a holistic wealth building / retirement plan, what do you suggest? Like, what is your, I don't know, I guess ethos or your pillars for what, like how much you should allocate to this type of asset versus that type of asset, and kind of like, what do you normally suggest to people as like what their portfolio or investment should look like?
Yeah. I mean, to your point, my main sort of framework is the SHIP method. So let me explain what that is. The SHIP method stands for stewardship, ownership, and entrepreneurship. I got that out of the Bible. I got that from King Solomon. So he talked about stewardship. Stewardship is really the successful handling of your finances. So we call it a budget or a spending plan. So I talk to people about how to put together a spending plan. I don't like the word budget. I like spending plan better. So show people how to do that. And then ownership, I talk to people about what we're talking about right now, the assets that they need to create. And so now, because real estate to me is the easiest one to talk people through, it's tangible and they can see it and touch it and all that. We talk about that. But then entrepreneurship talks about, you starting your own enterprise where you are leveraging, because that's what you want to do. Who wants to own a business, but are not able to have other people working with you and for you so you can have leverage. And so I walk people through that. And then if people want to go a little bit more in depth, I show them how to put together. Now, I don't do it as much as I used to because I'm leaning more on the real estate side now. But with my members, I show them how to build a house. And at the bottom of so I say the foundation of every house is this thing called life insurance, meaning what you talked about. If you died today, would your family would still be able to function and go forward and do things they need to do? So I talk about life insurance. And so, we can go, people, there's been small wars fight about, should I be whole life, a term, or both? I said, listen, based off what you're trying to do, you figure out what's best for you. But you definitely should have it. I shouldn't see a GoFundMe page for you if you pass.
That's so sad.
And I've had that just happen recently with a family member, that died unexpectedly, and now they're passing a hat asking for people to help out. Now, obviously, I contributed, but it's like, well, if they knew or they knew just didn't do something we're talking about right now, that wouldn't be an issue. So we're talking about life insurance, and then the second level is I talk about having a debt elimination strategy. Now, we can get into good debt versus bad debt. Good debt is obviously puts money in your pocket. Bad debt takes money out of your pocket, student loans and things of that nature, but you can argue whether student loans are bad or not. But anyway, I talk about you having a debt elimination strategy, because what I want you to do is earn interest and not pay it.
Listen, I know you've been digging in, studying everything you can, listening to all the podcasts, reading all the books, even going to meetups. You basically have a degree from YouTube University, right? But you still feel stuck. You don't know how to actually implement what you've learned. You're nervous about taking the next step. And with the economy like it is, especially with a downturn looming, you're even thinking maybe you should just wait it out. I know you've heard that real estate makes more millionaires than any other asset class, but you know what else? More millionaires are made in a downturn than any other market cycle. So now is the perfect time to jump in and really get started. I'm super bullish on growing my portfolio this year, and I don't want you to miss out. So I've decided to start the Microfamily Investing Accelerator. This is a mentorship program where I personally guide you through my 5 proprietary pillars, so you can learn how to buy your first commercial multifamily property and scale while not biting off more than you can chew by focusing on 5 to 20 units. That's what I call microfamily. And so you can also get hands-on guidance from an experienced microfamily investor, me, who's been right where you are, nervous about how to start. And so you can also create the cash flow needed to give you freedom and options to build the abundant life that you were destined to live. So I'll be limiting the first cohort to 5 students because they'll have direct access to me and I will be heavily invested in their success. If you're ready to grab 2023 by the horns, schedule a free discovery call with me today. The link is in the show notes. Let's hit the ground running in 2023. I look forward to seeing you on the inside. And now let's get back to the show.
So we talk about, our foundation is life insurance. Our second level is having a debt elimination plan. Then our next level on top of that, we talk about having a savings and investment strategy. So we talk about, having some sort of cushion that if something happens, you can get to fairly easily. And then we talk about investments, so whether you get involved in your 401k, 403b, where they match and things of that nature, we talk about that. And then the last level I talk about is having a income generation strategy. Because to me, Nicole, what's missing in a lot of the basic financial literacy education things is we don't focus people on having a strategy to generate more income. So we get people thinking about budgeting, cutting back, and all that. But if you really want to improve your finances, there's only 2 ways to do it: decrease your expenses, increase your income. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. And a lot of times you hear coupons, cut back, budget, and all that. Well, we need to be focusing people on not only doing that, but I want to get them focused on increasing their income. So you got 1 income now. Okay, can we get 2? Can we get 3? Can we get 4? Can we get 5? Can we get 6? Because if I have more income, I can pay off everything I got. But now I still have the assets still running. And so that's how I build wealth. Bill Gates and them and people who are wealthy, they ain't thinking about budgeting. They're thinking about how can I how can I get other streams of income coming into my life? And so I really spend a lot of time getting people to think, listen, obviously, we don't want to be wasteful, but I'm thinking more so about how can you generate, that was a question I asked my congregation on Sunday. The question you need to ask yourself, how can I generate more income? Because if you ask yourself that question, your mind will begin to show you different things and it will stimulate your creative juices. And a lot of times, back to what you said, 10 years ago, you got on this path of learning stuff. I'm still on the path of learning because I know that the more that I learn and then I've implemented, now I'm better for it. And now I can get out there and generate more income. And I believe that's what more people need to focus on. Listen to us.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more with that. Because you're right. A lot of the budgeting books focus on the budgeting aspect.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that's how that you can't save your way to wealth. And
Thank you.
putting your, taking out the latte factor and all other stuff, like don't get your latte a few times a week or whatever it is, that just is not going to help you accumulate enough. And to save that and invest the difference, like what are you investing it in?
Right.
Like you can't even buy a stock for $5. Like how long is it going to take you saving your $5 coffee to buy one share of something? You know what I mean? And then that's just like, unless you're getting total stock market fund, then you might just lose off that one company goes down. I don't know. So increasing income is definitely the better strategy in my eyes. Doesn't mean go spending crazy if you can rein it in, if you're already a little conservative with your spending, but you want something here or there, like spend $20 at lunch, talking to myself. But it's okay.
But Nicole, think about the environments that we came out of. So whether it's church or a home, we talk save your money, and I'm not against saving money, but I'm like, why do we save money? We're
for
saving
a rainy day.
opportunity for a rainy day. They talk about rainy day. We got some of that, but I tell people, listen, you should save for opportunity.
Yes.
Because
my rainy day was sarcastic.
Say it again.
I said me saying save for a rainy day was sarcastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. I ain't saying for a rainy day. It's like, listen, when an opportunity comes, I want to have the cash ready to make a move. So that's why I'm really saving if I'm thinking like a wealth building person, because we know that if you got cash on the side that's ready to be deployed and something jumps off, you can move. I mean, this in real estate, dude, you in my market, you don't have time to think about it.
Nope. And that's why I hear a lot of people say too, don't call it a savings account, call it your investment account.
Exactly.
And once it goes in there, it cannot come out unless it's for an investment, unless it's deployed. Right. So that's it. And the whole thing, that it's just like law of attraction. If you're saying, oh, I need an emergency fund, you're just going to get emergencies.
Right.
And every time something happens and there's like an emergency, like my car the other day, not the other day, in December, we got hit overnight when we were parked. Right. I came out to go driving somewhere. Whole tire was busted, back bumper was thing. So by the time I take it to the shop and they do it, it takes forever because of the holidays. And then they find I'm about to pick up the car, and then they happen to find a couple other maintenance things that are not covered by the insurance company that cost me like $4,500.
Right.
And I'm just like, are you serious? But at the same time, it didn't break me. We had it. Like, it wasn't like I'm stressed, like, oh my God, yeah, does it suck to put out the $4,000? Like, yeah, it sucks. But we had it, and it wasn't all we had. Like, you know what I mean? So it made it so much easier to deal with. And even like trying to shop around and say, oh, maybe we can take it to another dealership or thing. And me and my husband were both like, nah, we just don't, like, it's already there. That takes too much time and energy. And then just finding them. And then after that, you got to see when can you get on their schedule? Yeah, it's just, I'm like, they already got the car. It's too late for that. We just fix it. Just fix it. So, and now next is let's get rid of that car, get a different car.
Just fix it, and I deal with it after Christmas.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, we didn't even find out about that, the actual cost, until after Christmas, because before it was supposed to be covered by insurance. So we found out the other. But anyway, that's neither here or there. But just to like say that once you're building up, like in this period of my life now, I'm able to handle that. If I was still in that paycheck to paycheck, like I couldn't even afford a car then. So you know what I mean? So it wasn't even like a thing. I wouldn't have no car repairs. So, but yeah. So I think the whole building wealth and increasing your modes of income is a conversation that needs to continuously be had, and putting people like yourself out here to change people's mindsets and kind of open their thinking, and asking, I think what you said, asking the question, how can I create more streams of income, or how can I create another income? Let's start with one. Like it doesn't have to be the 7 streams of income, because then people get overwhelmed and they don't know where to start with that. I'm never going to get 7, right? That's too big for them to fathom. So if you say 1, how can you get 1 this year? Like that's doable, right?
And actually, that's most of my advice. I said, let's get 1 a year.
Yeah.
So if I add 1 more this year, and then if I do it again next year, I got 3. And then if I do it again the next year, it's 4. You know what I mean? So we are talking baby steps on some level, But just getting the mentality of, hey, I don't want you satisfied with one. So we've been trained to think, oh, I got my job and I'm good. I'm like, yeah, okay, you got that. But listen, if something happens where, like you said, layoffs take place or mama gets sick and you need more flexibility, you know, because my dad is 78. He broke his hip this year. And so I'm running up and I'm in Boston and he's in Connecticut, which is 200. So I'm running up and down the highway going to see him. You know what I mean? Well, if I was broke, I couldn't have done that. If I'd have the flexibility in my schedule, I couldn't have done that, you know? And so I think it's not just about the wealth that we're trying to build it, but it's to be able to be there for people when they need us, you know? And so it's important.
Yeah, 100%. Amen to that. Because we definitely, the problem is a lot of people don't think about it until it happens. Right. They don't try to prepare for it because it seems like it won't happen to them until it does, and they're not
it's too late then.
So it's too late then. But yeah,
it's too late. You know, and people have to think like that. You know, I'm 40, I'll be 55 this year. And I'm like, listen, I'm looking at my dad, I'm looking at my mother-in-law just passed 2 years ago, but I'm like, we're getting older. The people around us are getting older. Well, I said, well, somebody has to be the person who has the resources to be, if something happens to mom or dad, or if we need to flow like we need to flow, we got to have it, you know? And so I think people have to think much broader than just their own basic need. They need to think about, you know, them being the savior in some respects of the people around them.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Now, I think I really could I just want to keep talking to you, but I feel like we've already been talking a while. And I'm like, I don't even know if I have to cut this episode in half. My people are used to me cutting these episodes in half because I always talk to people so long, like too long for the episode length. But anyway,
well, it could be B-roll stuff.
B-roll. That's true. No, I'll see when we finish and I see the final the final take.
Final version, right?
But yeah, and anyway, so we're going to roll into the last section of this podcast, the final questions that I ask every guest. Right. And I do not have I still don't have a fancy name for this final section. And no one has given me any suggestions. Like I don't want to keep saying the final questions. I need to think about this.
Well, you have 5 questions. I would call it Nicole's top 5 or nothing. You know, you branded around you.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. That already gave me an idea. Okay, yeah, so we'll see for the next time. Okay.
Now brand that thing around you, girlfriend. This is your show.
Yes. Okay, so the first question. Warren Buffett said diversification is protection against ignorance.
Right.
What do you think that he meant by that? Is that a good or bad thing?
I think he meant the diversification. If you sort of got the hope strategy, I'm going to just throw a whole bunch out there, hope something hit. That's diversification that he was talking about. And so I do think that people who do well in any area, they go deep first before they go wide. LeBron James is a billionaire, but he became a billionaire playing basketball first. Now he's gotten a brand and he has some expertise, because what you want to do first is go deep until you get some competence. And then now you can branch off. But I think on this quote, and the way I look at him, is he's talking about not being diversified. Where I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to throw a whole bunch up there and hope something hit.
Yeah, I actually 100% agree with your take on what he meant there, and that you need to go deep first and then go wide. So the diversification is protection after you gain some equity and knowledge and money build up in one certain area. But yeah, okay. Perfect. Love it. So have you played Monopoly before?
I haven't. I looked at this question. I hope she asked me this. I played Monopoly so long.
Well, you know what? I'm not a Monopoly fanatic. I don't play all the time. The game, it takes too long. I don't got that much time. I can't be playing Monopoly.
Board games usually by nature are long. You know what I mean?
No. Monopoly is ridiculously long. Right, Monopoly is like the epitome of long. Okay, anyway. But everyone knows the concept, right? So that's why it's regular. Boardwalk is the most expensive property. Baltic
Right.
is the cheapest property.
Right.
In that game, what property would you purchase first and why?
I would probably do Baltic Avenue because I can always trade up.
You could trade up in Monopoly?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, now because I'm using our analogy of if I buy something cheap and if I buy enough of them cheap properties, I can do a 1031 exchange and do a whole bunch of other stuff. So now I don't know if you can do that in Monopoly, but I would probably go Baltic first.
I think you're making up your own rules to Monopoly. I don't think you can 1031 in Monopoly.
No, I don't. Like I said, I haven't played Monopoly in so many years. I mean, like I said, I haven't played since I probably was 12.
You definitely made that up.
But if you ask me,
Who decides the new appreciation value? So how you 1031 it if it's the same value?
I have no clue.
I would look at. I don't even have Monopoly in my house. I gotta find the rules and see.
That's why I was like, yeah. I'm like, I hope Nicole will answer that question.
Everybody gets that question. Everybody gets that question. Oh man. Okay. Well, you know what? At least you had played before because I finally got one. Guess who had never
hadn't played at all?
Yes.
Wow.
I was waiting for it. Yes.
I thought everybody at least played it at least once or twice.
I know, but it's no shame because I tell you, I ain't played in a long time. Anyway, this one, I don't know if this is on there because I think I added this. What does wealth mean to you?
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Okay.
My definition of wealth, oh my God, this is a whole separate story right here. But wealth to me means having what you need when you need it. Now, let me tell you why that's the case. My grandmother who died, maybe when she was 92, I was sitting with her one time, Nicole, and I'm from New Haven, Connecticut, and my dad's from South Carolina. So I saw my grandmother maybe 10 times because when I was coming up, she was in South Carolina, I'm in Connecticut, right? And then when she retired, she moved up to Connecticut, but by that time I'm in college. So our paths were just like this, right? But one time we were together and she said, Dexter, she asked me two things. She said, are you going to church? At that time, no, I wasn't. Nicole, she asked me three questions. She said, are you going to church? No, she asked me two questions. She said, are you going to church? And do you know how to cook? Those are two questions she asked me. And I said, Grandma, I know I ain't going to church right now because I'm in college doing my thing, but I'm not. And then I said, I do know how to cook. And then she got into this conversation, Nicole. She said this. She said, Dexter, I'm a rich woman. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you ain't got no Lambo outside. That was my thinking at the time, And she said, I can go anywhere I want to go and not have to pay for it. Because my grandmother had 11 children. And they're spread all throughout the country. And then, so do the multiplication with kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. So she went anywhere she wanted to go, from California to New York and Florida. We flew her in, put her up, took care of her. I said, oh my goodness, she is rich. She is wealthy because she gets where she wants to go. She goes where she wants to go and doesn't pay for anything. So she had what she needed and what she wanted when she wanted it. And so that conversation just really shifted my paradigm about what wealth really is. Because she
wrote it down here. I love it.
She was wealthy in relationships.
Yeah.
And if you're wealthy in relationships, you can get anything you want.
And there's somebody I follow like on LinkedIn, and he always talks about one of the freedoms, and one of them is relationship freedom.
Yes.
And being able to build those relationships with anybody, wherever you go, and being like in the culture and really building up friends, that relationship capital, because that's very important, actually.
Yeah, that's a great term, relationship capital. I like that.
Okay. All right. So what else?
Number 4.
I know. And I'm looking at this, I'm thinking I'm gonna scratch it off.
Now I'm gonna tell you what it is. I know for me, it's more support people.
Oh, let me ask a question for somebody who didn't hear this before. What's the one thing you need to take your business to the next level?
More support people.
Support people, like what kind of support?
Meaning because of the different things that I do with church, and then with the real estate piece, and then with the financial literacy, what I'm finding is I need more VAs and people like that, because I need to stay creative, and that bogs me down. So anytime I gotta, like I'm doing the middle couple things right now, and I heard my coach talking, I'm just like, ugh. And I'm thinking, I've got to switch from thinking I have to do it to find someone else to do it. So it goes from, there's a book that's called
Who Not How.
What. Yeah, exactly. Not what. I think it's not what or who, something like that.
It's Who Not How.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you go. Right, thank you. I just bought that book. I haven't read it yet. Yeah, Who Not How. I'm like, I need to read that thing, because I'm so used to having to do it myself. And I'm like, in order for me to scale and go to where I want to go, because I want to have a church of businesses that, obviously run themselves. And then I want to spend time with my wife and grandkids and kids and all that. I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor. And so it's going to take other people who are like mine to get that done.
Yes. And if you're looking for like some VA resources, I was looking heavy into that. I actually have onboarded one that I'm working with part-time, because that's what I could do right now.
Exactly.
But it's been very helpful. And I have some other resources, some friends that have like some VA companies. I'll send you some information.
Please
if
do.
You want to look into.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is a new question that I didn't know if I was going to ask today. But I know you don't know who the next guest is going to be. But if you had to add one question as the final question for the next guest to answer, what would it be?
Oh God, you stumped me there. What would it be?
Like just any question you would want the next guest to answer. It doesn't have to be about wealth. It doesn't have to be about finances. I know that's what we talk about, but it could be a fun off the wall question, just anything.
I think if the next question I use, well, it's gonna be wealth for me. That's just gonna be the way it is. I would ask them, what was their toughest thing they had to overcome?
What was
the biggest challenge they had to overcome in their business? It's probably what, because I like to hear, because this is what I found. Most of us get on these podcasts, we tell our victories, but very few of us tell our defeats.
Overcome in your business. Okay. That is going to be the next guest final question.
Yeah, and I think it encourages people, because they're looking at you like, oh, Nicole never had any issues. She got it going on and da-da-da. And they're like, well, you didn't know. Now, I don't know you all that well. We just get to know each other. But I know you had to overcome some things to get to where you are right now. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it is. And so I think the more transparent we can be at times with people, say, hey, look, I had to overcome this, but with God's help and other help of good people, I was able to overcome that.
Nice. Okay, yeah, and then anybody who's followed me for any time knows that I tell the downsides to my issues. But in any case, that is a wrap. I'm just gonna ask you, how can listeners get in touch with you? What's the best place for them to reach out? Like what resources you have? And
Well, we'll start with my website, dexterbjenkins.com. Dexterbjenkins.com. If they go there, Nicole, I have on my website, I have a free ebook for them called The 3 Ships of Wealth Building. We actually talked about stewardship, ownership, and entrepreneurship. So if they hit I have it in my footer as well at the top, green button, they can download that book there. So that will allow me to stay in contact with them. And then I'm Dexter B. Jenkins all across the board at LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all that. So I'm Dexter B. Jenkins across all social media.
Perfect. Wow. I'm so this conversation was great. I needed this. I'm gonna re-listen because that was crazy. I got a lot of subconscious, I guess, reservations I need to fight through to get to my and I'm doing the wealth building thing, but I need to take it to the next level. I need to not feel bad about aggressively going after wealth.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I talk about, there's an inner game of wealth.
Okay. And we over now. We done.
We can talk about that another time.
No. You already said it. Now I want to know. What is it?
There's an inner game of wealth and an outer game of wealth. See, the outer game of wealth are the skills you need to acquire the properties, stuff that you teach. Yeah. And then there's an inner game of wealth. And so that deals with your belief systems and thought processes and subconscious messages that we have to all fight through and deal with. And so, we notice the inner informs the outer, correct?
Yeah.
And so I got to consciously always be looking at my inner game of what's going on the inside of me that's either helping me or hindering me from building wealth. And so that's what I talk about. The inner game. I was a basketball player, so I inside, outside, and so that's sort of how my mind is sort of wired.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice. I can't talk more about that. Like we gotta go. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence today and all these mindset shifts and just things that we really need to dig deep and uncover and how to ship our way to wealth.
Right.
I need to send you a little ship or build a ship somewhere or something. You need a ship hanging on your wall, your brick wall behind you. You need a picture of a ship.
Exactly.
That's what I'm gonna do. Okay.
Right.
Bye. Thank you for being here. Everyone, if you really enjoyed this episode, which I know you did, please don't forget to give us a rating and review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast, because that way this kind of conversation can reach more people. The more engagement the show has, the algorithm knows that people love it and it reaches more people, and everyone needs to hear these types of conversations. So especially Mr. Dexter Jenkins today, like, really dropped some bombs. So please like, comment, and give us your honest review. All right, I'll see you next time.
Did you love this episode of Share the Wealth Show? Be sure to connect with Nicole by following her on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. If you picked up any of the gems that were dropped by today's guest, make sure you not only put them in your bag, but if you know of someone who would benefit from this information, don't keep it to yourself. Share the wealth and make sure to leave us a rating and review. We'll see you for next week's episode. Subscribe so you'll be notified.